Happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to, what is this, episode 4 of Officer Chat. I'm Tri. Joining me today, as always, are Destiny Eyes and Andrew. I think we're going to talk a little bit first, just kind of how it's been going in Nathria, and then we want to talk a little bit about alts in Shadowlands. Destiny, what's on the menu today?
Let's, like you said, start with Castle Nathria. We are week 3 in normal Castle Nathria. We easily cleared up to Sledgefist on Wednesday's fresh run, which leaves us with just 3 bosses for tonight. Think we'll get the full clear?
I want to say certainly yes. I mean, we've killed Sledgefist and Stone Legion already, so hopefully those are performances we can repeat. And then it's just how quickly can everybody get on board to the Sire Denathrius, like 16 mechanics over 3 phases with 2 bosses. It's like it's not hard. It's just there's a volume of things that need to be paid attention to, and so it's just one of those like it might end up being a 20 pull boss for us. And so will we have time for that tonight? It's not. I don't think it'll be a gear check. I don't think it'll be a we don't have the healing or the DPS to do it. It'll just be a oh shit, I forgot about that part again. You're right. Okay. 6 minutes into the 10-minute fight, let's reset it. And do we have the time for that many pulls? Maybe.
Yeah, it's a long fight, so it's hard, like, once we master phase 1, phase 2, like, we still have phase 3.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna have
we have 3 hours to practice.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll burn some of that up
like
on trash
2 hours
the first 2 bosses,
minutes. Yeah. Depending on how many people I kill during Sledgefist with the chains.
Yeah. Optimistic. I'll say I'm optimistic.
Excellent. And looking toward heroic, which boss fights have the biggest change in strat from what we've learned in normal, in your opinion?
Oh, there's a lot. Like something like Shriekwing, even Zymaz and the Hungering guy, those should be like there are changes, but I think they're so small and they dovetail nicely with what we've already been doing that it'll be 2 or 3 pulls tops to see the new heroic mechanic and get it. I'm a little worried about Huntsman. Most people list that as an easier heroic fight compared to some of the other changes. It's just the Ripsoul does AoE damage. We're going to spawn 2 Shades of Barghast instead of 1 each cast. And what we've been... So this is one of those things where like I don't want to jump ahead in our notes here, but we tend to want to try to prepare everybody for heroic. So our normal strats may seem over-involved at first glance, but it's because we're prepping for a heroic mechanic that we know we're going to have to deal with eventually. Now sometimes if it's a difficult fight, we'll just say, screw it, baby with the bathwater, and it's time to do, just get the fight done on normal, worry about heroic once we're there. But we've got everybody so aware of soaking that lunge. It's worked out great in normal. Unfortunately, in heroic, it applies a very, very massive, nasty bleed on everybody that shared that soak. So you want as few people in it to not one-shot those people, but also not so many that the whole raid is bleeding to death. So I think for us, it's going to be finding that balance of like, can we get lucky enough that we have enough immunities that A, we can bank on at least 1 in 3 ending up on an immunity person, and then number 2, it's finding that balance between. Is 3 people enough with defensives up? Probably not. Is 6 people too many? Probably so. And like, how do we negotiate those? Sort of like on the spot, last minute calls can be a little tricky sometimes.
That sounds like a problem that we just give our healers and let them deal with it.
For sure, right? Like, hey,
just throw Smek at it. It'll be fine. We'll add another body.
Just have Smek go resto and be like, you're only healing bleeds, dude. Good luck.
See, the advantage here, Tri, is that since you're not healing, you can create these strats that are punishing on the healers.
It's true.
And it's going to be great.
Guys, I spent all this time investing in a great, highly skilled healing team. I'm going to use it.
That makes sense.
I'm a little worried, too, about Sun King, kind of for the same reason, because we've mastered it. That our kiting strategy is amazing in normal, and that was a good, like, day 1 breakthrough that you had with that audible. I'm a little worried because the Blazing Surge is random now. So we may end up having to sort of relearn the fight a little bit, or everyone has to scatter and strafe. I think it could still work if it's like 5 seconds to Blazing Surge, everybody look for the cone and sidestep, and then back to kiting could work, but it's like the potential for disaster there is much higher if it's normally it's just you and I and we can sidestep it just fine, and it's always pointing directly away from everybody else, but when it's one of those one random person in the stack group is going to get targeted, that kind of sucks. And then the harder fights, obviously.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And that's hard to like stack on the tanks as well because of the frontal dot. So
Yeah.
that'll be a really good movement positional fight, because not only do you have to strafe that, but we have to be moving forward. We have to be soaking
Yep.
the hit. We have to be running away.
Yeah, it's less the
From
mechanical
Phoenixes.
changes are bad. It's just more like we have to develop not a whole new strat, but it's going to be like 10% relearning, where it's what worked before can't work exactly as it has.
Tell me what you need, my
So
friend.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't think anything is beyond us. Sludge Fists, Chains are going to get interesting. That's another one of those where it's like it just it,
Will
it
it have
is
the opportunity to kill more
oh
people?
very much so, but it's just like everybody's got to pay attention, right?
Sorry, Rez.
Somebody's going to get caught out and go, oh shit, I forgot. Or I wasn't standing close enough and I got knocked back and my chained buddy didn't. Or I got drawn in by the pull-in and he didn't, so now we're both dead. Like, everybody's going to have those, like, aha, coming to Jesus moments, and then we'll get it down. It's just, I feel like that's going to take 10 or 15 pulls. And then,
Wow.
Sire Denathrius is just, it's like the worst parts of Ishara, where most of that fight wasn't hard, it was just a lot. And like, as somebody who has to tell everybody all 16 mechanics to remember, I'm not super excited about that part of just,
How may I
let me talk for 7 minutes and please commit none of it to memory.
Yeah, I think a big thing with that fight is going to be figuring out the mechanics that we can largely just ignore, either
Yeah.
by moving the boss around or, figuring something out there where, yeah, this is a mechanic that we have to deal with, but we're just going to run the fight in a way that we don't have to worry about that one problem.
Yeah, well, that's what's really nice too about, like, everybody was giving me a hard time about the order that we're killing Blood Council in, and like, not that I want to rub somebody's face in it, but it's like, in Heroic, I think it'll pay dividends when we're progressing in that fight on Heroic. Having only Niklaus's ability up in Phase 3 is awesome, because there are no one-shot mechanics, there's nothing that kills you, there's very limited reason for the DPS or the healers to move. It just puts a lot of onus on you and I, making sure that gargoyle doesn't get empowered, and that's it. So it's like, if we can get that second boss down in Heroic, we just pop hero and it works. It's, I don't say it's a gimme, but it's a lot smoother than I think it would be in any of the other configurations.
Yeah, that fight is a good example. When you look at what killed us in that fight, it was two mechanics. It was the one that we eliminated first, which
Yep.
is why we did that kill order, and then just the DPS check. And we can fix the DPS check. It's a lot easier to fix the DPS check.
Oh,
It's
for
a lot
sure.
harder to fix a one-shot mechanic that 30 people may run into and have to see a million times.
Yeah. We always try to avoid it. That's our bigger hammer philosophy, is like, if there is a thing that is going to kill everybody, if somebody does it wrong and we can avoid that, 100 times out of 100 that will be where we choose to go. But I'm excited. I think we'll do pretty good in Heroic, at least our first couple of weeks. I think we'll hit roadblocks for sure, but we're going to have a couple of easy fights. We've got good DPS, good healers, and a lot of them don't mechanically change significantly enough that I think they'll be a huge burden for us.
Yep, I agree.
Speaking of DPS checks, that's a great opportunity to segue into our next topic. The most recent DPS rankings were shared, and some of our raiders have been comparing their personal performance to the numbers on those rankings. From your personal perspective, how helpful do you think it is to compare yourself to what others are listing your spec and class should be doing?
This is my biggest pet peeve, because it's a tool that I use, right? It's a tool that I want others to use, and I think, unfortunately, it gets misconstrued as being the most important thing or the only guiding principle, and I wish there was a better way for me to get my thoughts to our raiders, in that something like a global rankings for DPS in Nathria, like those raid logs that are showing top parses. My best example is the go-to response of, honestly, if you are 99th or 100th percentile parsing, there's a strong chance you are actually probably a bad player. Like, you're mechanically playing your class correctly, and you're playing it at a level that very few people would match you at. However, you're probably being a bad raid team member. And so you look at some of these people that are saying, oh, well, you parse amazingly high, there's no reason, demon hunters don't need any help at all because look at their parses on blood council, they're ridiculous. You should be doing 6k DPS. And while I'm sure someone playing a demon hunter can manage single target 6k DPS, what that is, when you look at those 99th percentile parses, are bad cleave. It's I-beam on 3 targets when 2/3 of that cleave damage amounts to exactly 0% meaningful. And so someone looks at that and goes, well, shit, I don't do 6k. Probably because you're deliberately not doing a thing you're not supposed to do, which diminishes your personal parse compared to people who are just trying to pad. It's that same thing with, like, when we used to talk about it in the healing realm, where somebody would literally just run a 20-man team with 2 healers and have people not dispel the debuff because I can heal it, that increases my healing parse, and then I get to show the world my 100th percentile healing parse, which is fun. And if we want to go back and do that on certain fights because somebody wants it for their, like, resume portfolio, I think I'm happy to do that. We can arrange those nights. There's such a weird, like, culture in this top-end Mythic Raider scenario where people compare themselves to that. It's like, nowhere else in real life do you do that. Like, no one looks at other professional people and then compares themselves to that person. Like, do you wake up every morning and, like, realize you don't have as much money as Warren Buffett, therefore you're a huge failure and not at all successful as your mom thought you were going to be? Like, probably not. Like, and it's not healthy to do that. Like, you need to find someone at that same level that you're trying. Like, we're not even trying to be Mythic Raiders, so what value is there really in comparing yourself to someone who is? I don't know. That's my soapbox. It really bums me out when people start letting their fun with the game be influenced by how other people are playing it at a professional level. Those people literally get paid to play the game. So, yes, it's like steroid use in professional sports. If you could take a pill that would make you better at your job, everybody on Earth's going to do it probably. But that's not how we play. And so those decisions shouldn't influence how much fun you're having, how you approach a fight, how we approach raid strat. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, that was way too much.
Well, the other thing too is that, like, people want to feel like they're providing value, and it sucks when, oh, you're at the bottom of the DPS list because you don't feel like you're providing value. But that's not who we try to be.
Right.
You provide your value by showing up and having fun and playing with us. And we've demonstrated time and time again, every raid tier, that we're going to get AOTC regardless of what class you play.
Yep.
Just play what you like.
Yep.
And if you like the rotation, if you like the play style, balance is a thing that will always change. And, like, yeah, maybe it feels bad that you're not at the top of the charts now, but you will be at some point.
Yeah.
And feel good about it then. Like, if you try, especially in today, it's super hard with gear, right? You're gonna spend weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks trying to get the gear just to find out whether or not you can play that class and like that class at the same level that you liked an alt. So why would you do that? Why, like, I know we're going to talk about alts later, but
yeah,
I don't know. I am a big proponent of, like, play what you like and get good at it, and it's going to take you 6 months playing a class to actually start jiving with the rotation and the timings. It's going to take the whole raid tier before you really start feeling out how to play the class against the encounters and all that.
Yeah.
Like, use Warcraft logs as a tool to figure out, like, what mistakes you're making or how you can get better. Use WoW Analyzer. Use those tools to try to get better at the game, but definitely don't compare yourself to Genji or,
right,
Nerf Warrior or whoever is, like,
yep,
the top of the game right now.
Because you're not going to work. And, like, the other thing I think that you were hinting at or alluding to is, like, we have so many different metrics for success that DPS or HPS is. I mean, sure, we love to say, like, oh, look at Rob, 100th percentile healed that fight, he carried us, and he did, and he does. Or when Zados does, 20% more damage than the next person. It's fun to look at. But there are so many other ways that people can contribute to the success of our raid, and not just by showing up, not just by being friendly, not just by farming mats, but like I know we don't like to use real names, and I don't want to call people out, but I'm pretty sure he won't mind. Like Zell is a great raider. Someone might look at his parse though and say, "This is a great parsing warrior. He needs to go play a marksmanship hunter, get good scrub." And if the only metric for success there is seeing damage done, there might be some value in that statement. But what you're not seeing is that he is the guy who will sacrifice his DPS to go take a debuff all the way out to make sure that the healers don't have to heal any of that. He's the guy who will stay in melee and wait to interrupt so that the caster mob will follow the rest of the pack. Like, those are things that don't show up on any log anywhere, but make a run so much more smooth or so much more successful because he's there doing those difficult things, the things that kill, that tank your DPS, and he's, sorry, warriors suck right now, but like he's already on a bad spec in terms of high parsing DPS, but like he's good at the class, he enjoys playing it, and as long as I have a raid, he'll always have a spot because he's going to get the most anybody can get out of a warrior, and he's going to be helpful. He's going to use all of those tools to help make the raid as successful as it can be. And so when I'm putting a team together, or like when I'm thinking about those things, it's not just I have to bring the class that does the most damage, or I have to bring the flavor of the month. I'm looking at what people are going to help me get this done.
Yeah, and you've always said before, in the past, the only metric that we actually care about in those raids is, are we killing bosses?
Yep.
And we haven't hit a DPS check that we can't get through. We haven't hit a healing check that we can't get through. We're under healing and
Yep.
still hitting the healer checks.
Yep.
Like, it really, really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it hurts me a little bit that someone is like bumming hard that they're not parsing at the same level as a mythic raider. I don't know what more I can
it sucks
say.
because it feels bad. I've been there too. I used to play Elemental Shaman in Tomb of Sargeras, and I really had a hard time through that raid. And it wasn't until Heroic killed Jaden and even Avatar that on Heroic, like, we cleared through all the way through normal, all the way through Heroic. It wasn't until we were on the last two bosses of the tier that I really started feeling good about that spec.
Mm-hmm.
and really understanding it and really liking it a lot more. So don't give up. Play what you like.
Yep.
Play what you're having fun with. Don't let the numbers.
And you'll
bring you
get your day in the sun. Like, nobody stays bottom tier forever.
So we started the first raids that Registered Trademark did together as a team was Antorus. Is that correct?
I think so.
That is
Very
true.
end of Legion. So we've done a number of raid tiers now. How do you think that the team is doing now compared to previous tiers that we've raided together?
I think we're doing great right now.
Marked improvements for sure.
Yeah, we have a lot more flexibility now, which we didn't have in the past. When we're trying to put, like, when we've got 10 or 12 people and we have to put a team together, like, it's hard. Like, we had to have people doing roles that they didn't really want to do, or, all that kind of stuff. I think the last raid tier was the first raid tier that I actually, like, didn't have to tank for most of the tier, and that helped a lot. The plan for this tier was to have me DPS and be able to be a little bit more flexible as well. So having more people just allows us to be a little bit more flexible. This raid tier kind of went sideways with the tank stuff, but in the future, like, we have this pool of huge numbers of players where if we need to augment DPS a little bit, or augment healing a little bit, or augment tank a little bit, we have so many different options now that, like, it just makes everything so much easier. It's so much less stress putting the teams together, wondering whether or not we're going to be successful in the next raid night.
Yeah.
Now it's like I'm not stressed about it. Going into Denathrius, it's going to be more fun than, holy cow, we're going to have to, the first time seeing this fight, it's going to be brutal.
Do you have anything you want to add, Tri? Because that's actually a really great segue into our next topic.
Yeah, just so proud. Like we said it once before that I hope no one in the previous raid tiers takes offense to this statement. I don't remember who said it. Never be the smartest person in a room, right? If you are, then you're in the wrong room. And I feel like we're at a spot now that that's true for me as a raid leader. Like, there are so many more people in our guild now that have gotten their skill level to a point where, I'm not the best healer. I'm not the best tank. I'm not even in the top 5 best DPS. And that's a really great place to be, like, from a leadership perspective, from like a proud Papa Bear perspective. It's just amazing, like, to say, yeah, they actually don't need me. Like, if I fell off the earth today, RTM could keep raiding without me in perpetuity, and that's awesome.
But who would tell us to watch our feet?
Like, there are 6 people who
Everybody
are
else in
very
the
comfortable
group.
doing it, yeah.
And that's where we find out that there are people who like feet more than trash.
What is it, 1 in 10?
Yeah.
Maybe you have to ask, it's probably you. Okay, so the next topic that we're going to talk about today is alts. So leading into Shadowlands and in the early weeks of the expansion, you both talked about how alt-friendly the new systems are. Now that you've both had a chance to level a few different alts and explore all of the different options, do you still feel this way?
I definitely think so, except for gear. Getting gear is so brutal for alts. The renowned stuff was so easy. Like, I just leveled a druid and I'm already at renowned cap after like a week and a half, and it feels good. Like, it's a catch up you have to play, but you play the game and you catch up, and that feels good. I think the some of the surprises, the Torghast upgrades from Venari are account wide, so that's awesome. You get all the benefits going into Torghast. It kind of sucks that you have to start from 1 in Torghast, and you can't even like get a carry up to higher levels or anything. That took a lot of time for me, but at least you have the cheaper upgrades and more options and all that kind of stuff. So it makes it easier. It's better. It's a lot better. Getting gear is still painful, like the lack of gear. I think I've seen a lot of commentary about like how the gear from the transmogs and stuff that you get from the Covenants would be a lot better if they were at higher level. It'd be better like Crafter Mark III if those were available, and you could get heroic dungeon level gear or something like that. Even as a soulbound craft or something like that, that would be awesome.
Just a little help would be nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. I leveled up a shaman initially because I really do like the playstyle of enhancement, but I was having trouble paying attention to mechanics, and that's a big thing for me. So I swapped to my druid, which I was almost certainly going to level next anyway, so it was fine. And yeah, I'm getting caught up.
Yeah, very alt friendly.
And John has all the alts.
Only 3 capped so far. I'm working on a fire mage now. It's just nice, like, we were all excited, I think, at the beginning that it was the alt-friendly expansion finally, and I think that's true. It's not that hard to get somebody caught up or keep them current, doing the minimal Torghast runs each week. I've just been clearing, I think, a 6 on my priest both sides, and I, granted, don't have any of the memories I want to craft, but I've got, after 3 weeks, like 3,600 soul ash. So, I mean, plenty. I think that's plenty to keep an alt current. There's some catch-up stuff, last week when there was the heroic piece of gear for doing 4 zeros, like, you have to prioritize doing that stuff with alts, I think, to get them caught up faster, keep them current. But what I like most about it is there's, like, the thematic reason, with the Covenants. The more we do every Tuesday morning, like, the next chapter of the Covenant story, I'm kind of like, this is cool. Like, last week was a great Ardenweald story. This week it was kind of sucky, so I went to Maldraxxus and did it on the priest and was like, awesome, this is a lot of fun. But then you go, well, shit, what's happening with Venthyr and the Kyrian of Bastion? Like, I don't know. Like, I could go watch a lore video probably where somebody's covering it, but there's almost like that incentive to have at least 4 characters, one in each covenant, and I'm kind of a sucker for that.
Yeah, I suspect my next... Well, at some point, I'll have to get my Paladin up for Kyrian. But now I've got Venthyr, Necrolord, and Night Fae, so... I've liked the Night Fae story. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Me too.
Just for Necrolord, just waiting for Draka and Thrall to get back together. It's gonna happen sometime. When is it gonna happen?
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like, it's all been okay, but like there hasn't been those great moments yet. Like there was, at least for me, in the Night Fae storyline. So it's like I imagine it's loaded heavy at the ass end of it.
Yeah, they've been focusing on, because like especially the Necrolord stuff where all the houses got split and you have to get Maldraxxus back together, and then it'll be interesting where they go from there.
Yeah.
But with hopefully next week or the week after, Twisting Corridors will be opened up. We have to save everybody first, and then it'll open up. And I believe Thrall is in Twisting Corridors, so we'll maybe next week, maybe the following week, we'll have a Draka Thrall reunite.
And then I'm gonna get my mount.
So cute, wanting to play matchmaker. So you've got the Paladin next in the queue. What else do you plan on leveling?
From there, I don't know. I was looking at Warlock too, but I don't really have anything on the docket. It'll be next year by the time I make another decision, most likely.
How about you, Trey?
I've got the Priest and the Druid. Just capped a Demon Hunter that I thought would be fun to sort of tank with in low keys, just because they're so bouncy, and it's like low stress. It's just fun to do. And then a Fire Mage, because I like playing Mage quite a bit, and Fire is good in keys right now, so I thought, like, on those rare nights where someone is just looking for a DPS spot, my balance setup is garbage because I've been prioritizing Guardian and healing stuff, so it's like I have Intricates, but they proc healing, I don't have any legendaries. So I thought it would be nice to be able to get a DPS character up to snuff, so when someone's like, man, we just need a 5th DPS, I can be like, I'm here, Huckleberry. But yeah, I'd like to see a Warlock leveled at some point in the future, and Blaze makes Death Knight look fun. I've never been a Death Knight guy, but Unholy looks really good right now.
You feel like Death Daddy might be a good fit for you?
Kind of, yeah. Like, never before. Like, the aesthetic never really appealed to me. And I don't know whether it's just, like, Bolvar's presence here in the Shadowlands is, like, helping that, but yeah, I could see myself wanting to level a Death Knight.
I did like tanking on Death Knight a lot, but I just couldn't get over the extra mobility and extra defensives that Brewmaster got.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to give those up.
All right, so let's talk about suggestions for players interested in leveling their next alt. Are there classes and specs that you recommend?
I think we talked about it briefly before the show. Like, it depends on what you want to do, and you should probably have an honest conversation with yourself about what you want to do with the character. Like, if it's just to see the Covenant storyline, I think it doesn't matter. You play whatever you're going to be into, whatever suits your aesthetic. All the classes will do, World Quests just fine. But if you're very specifically looking to do Mythic Plus at high levels, do some research. If you're looking to Pug exclusively, we talked about a little bit, there is an established meta. Like it or not, agree with it or not, it exists. And so if you're going to do most of your stuff in the Pug world, pugging high keys or pugging raid content, you probably aren't going to do it as an Arms Warrior. Like, whether Arms Warrior is your jam or not, there just aren't people who are going to look for you to do a plus 10 or to be their 29th raider in a heroic Castle Nathria. So I hate giving that advice, but in the world, if you're going to play exclusively by yourself, you should probably at least do a little bit of Wowhead research, a little bit of reading as to what people are expecting in terms of the meta, and plan accordingly.
Yeah, I normally, like, for Mythic Plus, like fishing Mythic Plus, trying to get those 15s in time. I definitely try to like eke out every benefit that we can get and have alts ready that will help with that. You know, Boomkin is super good in keys right now. That influenced my decision to go Boomkin, and also the rotation. Like I think I can play it well. Shaman's really good in keys too, but I don't think I can play it as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that I always recommend is look at the rotation type, the play style that you like, and kind of pick something based off of that. Because like we always say, a class that you enjoy playing that jives with you, you're going to just do better at than a meta class that you don't like playing. You know, it's one of the case in point where everybody for raid is going to be all over Windwalker monks now, but like I hate Windwalker monks. Like I can't play that at all. I've tried many times. I try every raid tier to play my monk as Windwalker, and I can't get it. But you get somebody like Bella, or in the world first race like Trill, like in the right hands, a Windwalker monk is amazing.
Yeah, and then like, I guess think about utility. If you're looking to just be that utility player, that sixth man, then find something that's got 2 specs that you can. If you are a mage, for example, you don't have options, right? You are just DPS. You're like you're blue flavored, or you're red flavored, or you're purple flavored, but you're always just damage. So in that case, if you're looking to play another alt and you've got time and energy to commit to that, like maybe look at something that can do another job, even if that's not your primary function or your goal, like just to have that as an option down the road, so that if you end up in a group that's like, oh shit, we've got 4 DPS and a tank, can anybody heal? You can be like, well, I am balanced, but Resto's pretty close. A lot of that, it's all int gear. Some of it's portable. Let me try. That helps out a lot, especially like in low keys where specialization and conduits aren't going to be super relevant. I think it would be awesome to have a Swiss Army knife option.
Yeah, I almost always go with something that can heal.
Or if you don't want to do that, go with one of the pure DPS classes, like a mage.
Sure,
or a
right,
warlock.
yeah.
And no one will ever ask you to do either of those.
That's actually a fair statement. Like if you play priest because you like shadow, but someone's always like, oh man, you got to heal this. You're a priest, and it's like, I don't want to. I really like range DPS. Then maybe roll up an alt mage and just be like, yeah, this is who I'm bringing now, because fuck you guys.
Don't make me do stuff.
That's fair.
And even if somebody wants a melee DPS, hunters are safe because they don't have a melee spec.
That's true.
I thought survival was a melee spec.
It is.
It is. That's a joke.
It is just garbage.
That's fair.
We had a Mythic Plus run a couple weeks ago where we figured out 3/4 of the way through that that the hunters in the run was a survival hunter, and that really caused problems.
One.
1.2k DPS is pretty good, right? For a +9?
Yeah. For the tank.
So what is, just one little sidebar because I was curious about this. Yesterday we were running with a hunter and you called the fact that they wouldn't be running with a pet because they were being weirdos during the conversation. So what was that? I'm not familiar with.
That's Marksman, which is very flavor of the month right now. It's overperforming. Like, not only is it always kind of relatively strong, but it is way overperforming, especially at lower gear levels. It's great because it has strengths that fit multiple damage patterns. It has really good single target damage. It has really good AoE burst damage, and it has, it's just all of the conceivable times where it's like your only weakness is long-term 5 or more than 5 targets over a sustained period of time. Where does that happen? Where do you fight 6 or more creatures for 2 minutes? Like almost never, and that's your weakness. Like that's everything else you're pretty good at, except for that one scenario. So they're in a good spot. But that specific talent, or it's not even a talent anymore. It's literally part of their class kit. When they go no pet, they have an ability called Lone Wolf that buffs their other damage abilities. It was just funny because we were in a situation where we needed a pet to taunt, and
That's right.
he just said, "I don't have a pet." I'm like, but you can though.
Because he told our boomkin to go as bear,
Yeah.
and then he would have been able to save it from a wipe because I was healing. It's
Right.
been very exciting with me healing.
Sure, like, and he's not wrong too. The Boomkin Bear could have done it also, but it's like if you aren't prepared to summon your pet and taunt, then you probably shouldn't talk shit about
Right.
someone not bear shifting.
I really liked the balance of that ability in BFA, where there were some scenarios where having a pet was better. There were some
Yeah.
scenarios where not having a pet was better, and you could swap like during a dungeon. Oh, we're going single target. I'm going to pull out my pet because that's better. I like that play style. I like those choices and stuff. It's like obviously very, very, very tiny difference, but yeah, I think now it's just no pet or bust.
Yeah, well, it's just too much damage, I guess, in their minds, like to offer any kind of utility, and that just always kind of bums me out the tiniest bit, where it's just like, I'm not going to contribute because of my damages, and it's like, well, you're already gonna burst higher than any other person in this dungeon. You can't just toss me a bone with a pet that interrupts, or somebody that stuns, or somebody that can slow, or a mortal strike for this guy that we don't have an interrupt to heal. Nope, none of that. Cool.
This goes back to our raid conversation where good raiders do mechanics and help the team.
Sure,
Is that
yeah.
good team players? Okay.
But they are quite strong right now. So.
You never have to worry about a marksman hunter not dismissing their pet.
Ooh, see upside.
So I should be a marksman hunter. No, I won't be doing that. All right, so once someone gets their alts to 60, what are the weekly maintenance tasks that need to be done to keep them current with their main?
You just have Johnny's buddy can sell you some runs for stuff. There's in seriousness, like, I think if you are truly pressed for time, I think all you really need to do is the minimal Torghast, which, like I said, I'm happy just doing a 6 every week, both sides on my priest. If we're talking bare bones minimum, you've got 2 hours of playtime a week, get your Torghast gun, get the highest key you can get into done. That's it. If you have more time, do more keys for more selections, but like, if you can just get into a 7, get your Torghast done, craft a legendary over the next couple of weeks, make sure that Great Vault has a 210 piece for you every week, do the world boss every week, look for those quests like we were talking about earlier, the 4 mythics for a heroic piece, or I'm assuming Time Walkers come back at some point with a piece of normal Nathriel loot, do that stuff. It shouldn't take, like, maintenance is going to be relative to each person, I suppose, but like, you don't have to do callings. You don't have to do the Maw, like, on an alt. A lot of that stuff, most of the Maw stuff is even account bound now, like the benefits to Torghast are something that you unlock with your main and you're just going to benefit from on your alts anyway. But I think, like, callings are a good way to make money. They're fun to do for some people, but they're not necessary. They don't offer any real player power, except at the exceedingly low level of the item scale. So yeah, I think that's it. If you've got disposable income, keep an eye on the auction house, because there are some pretty cheap BOEs. I mean, I guess it's relative to your own financial situation, but, like, if you can pick up a 200 or better piece for less than 20 grand, you should probably do that. That seems like
I have a 207 ring that's available.
Nice.
Just saying.
I spent all my money on the hands I bought from Rob. I have no more money.
One thing to look out for too is usually there's always one up, but there's an elite world quest usually up that gives 250 anima as well. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing things like, oh, I got to go farm, a million world quests for the 1,000 anima to get my renown up or whatever, like, be efficient with that. There's the weekly dungeon quests. Try to pick up the 2 weekly dungeon quests. This week they were both Halls of Atonement. Yeah, you do Halls, you get 400 anima, a whole bunch of rep. Yep. You try to do that on a decently high key, like, you knock all of your dungeon needs out in 45 minutes.
Yep.
All right, we have an audience question. Are you ready to move on?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, let's do it.
Okay. Audience question. Is there some way we would be able to get some people who don't do keys to be more excited about doing keys throughout the week so that when Monday rolls around, we don't have people panic rushing keys? And actually, I was thinking about this because originally our Mythic Mondays started because we wanted to make those available for anyone who didn't have a chance to complete a single key when that was the requirement for BFA to make sure you had something in your chest. So we, as a group, hadn't really had that conversation about whether or not it made sense to keep that going now that the requirements for dungeons have changed. So talk
If the
amongst
goal is
yourselves.
to try to get people excited about doing keys earlier in the week because Monday can feel kind of like a grind, we talked a little bit about it last time, but because of my amazing technical prowess, we lost some of Andrew's audio. But it's worth rehashing here again, maybe a little bit. Like, yes, it's fun to run in a completely organized guild group where someone has just sent you an invitation and there are 2 heavy carry DPS, a tank, and a healer just waiting for you. I imagine that's the dream scenario. Where someone has done all of the dungeon mapping for you, will tell you exactly where you need to stand, what you need to do, and that's the easiest way you can do those keys. And I think we try as a guild our best every week to try to make Mondays that night. And if that's the only way you want to play the game, then I think you're kind of stuck in that system. But be out there. Like there are 13 people on right now before raid. There is easily a 5-man that can be cobbled together with the 13 people that are online. Everybody here is so friendly. Everybody here is so helpful in guild. Just say, hey, I would love to take my +2 turn of scythe that I got this week and just take it as high as it'll go. I don't know whether I'm a big key guy or a medium-sized key guy or a little key guy, but let's find out. Like, let's just, who's up for tanking, healing, or DPSing a 2 turn of scythe, and we'll go as high as we can. The only problem is that we have, I think, so many introverts who don't want to be the first person to take that step, and I don't know how to do that for other people, except to say that, like, you just have to dare to be bold sometimes. And I promise you guys know everybody that is in our group. No one here is gonna be rude or mean or judge you in any way. The worst case scenario is, I'm busy right now, can we do it in 40 minutes? Like, that is literally the worst case scenario for you asking for help with a key. I would tell you to avoid the looking for group tool. If you're gonna piecemeal something together, I would do it with friends from guild or IRL friends or people outside of the looking for group tool. We have, well, my personal anecdote has not been good experiences in the LFG thing, but I don't know if we need to take a larger, more active role as guild leadership. We can try. I think it's one of those things that with so many people online, it just gets too much. Like, we're already organizing 2 raid nights a week plus a Mythic Plus night a week. I think it becomes too difficult to try to schedule everyone else's playtime, but I don't know. If there's slack that needs to be picked up, we can address it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think I'll just add, like, we have the guild as a whole is doing a lot better with that. Like, earlier today we had 2 key groups going, and there's windows of time where we definitely have our heavy hitter groups pushing super high keys, and like that is our avenue to figure out where our key limit is and figure out where can we carry people, where can we help people along, how do we learn the things in keys to help other people. And earlier today I think we were running multiple low key groups, right? And that really helps too. So along with what you said, Try, about set expectations, do the 5s, do the 6s, do the 7s, figure out what the goal is and do that. If you want a push, like if you're like, hey, let's push super high keys, set those expectations and be in the right mindset to do that, because it's different than just running people through keys to help get gear. And put that group together with that expectation. Like, if there's a couple of people who we're really trying to time this 9 so that we can get a 10, and you're just you jump in and you want to kick keys around for fun, you're going to get a different response than, if you start that group and you reach out to people and say, hey, I've got a 2, I want to push it. Let's do the 5. Let's do the 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one short of another option, or I want to get to this gear level. For me personally, like, it's 7 plus 7.
Yeah.
That's where I'm trying to get the most keys done, and we can run anybody through a plus 7. So if you wanna jam plus 7s all day long, I'm here all day long.
Yeah, there's been some debate internally, like, about, what item level do I need to be at to do a high key? And, like, first of all, I apologize for creating the distinction between, like, high key group versus low key group. Maybe that's not fair, but it has more to do with mindset and skill and attention, than it does gear score, right? Like, there's no threshold where, like, we tell Cole, hey, sorry, bud, you're only at 191 and we're looking to push this 10, so you can't come today.
No.
That's like, that's
not
not a
gonna
world
happen.
where that ever happens. And conversely, there can be somebody who's 168, and they might actually be batting above their punching above their weight class and be able to get into an 8 or a 9 group. But for those who want to be in those good groups, quote, those high key groups, there is something, and I'm just going to speak plainly, and if I offend someone, I'm so sorry. There's knowledge that is incumbent on those people, right? Like, Andrew didn't just roll out of bed yesterday morning with mythic dungeon tools plugged into his brain, and the game just told him how to do every pull in every dungeon, what needs to be CC'd, what needs to be interrupted, how to kite, where to damage. What's that?
Of course he did. What?
Yeah.
What are you even talking about?
And so it's like, there's this
osmosis. It just gets channeled into his brain.
There's this kind of weird disconnect, I think, where somebody runs with, say, like an Andrew or a Cole, somebody who makes the dungeon so smooth and so clean, it's like, I don't have to think about any of this. This is super easy. Why don't we do 10s every day? What you don't see is that he has spent dozens of hours, literally 30, 40 hours, reading everything anybody has written, watching hundreds of hours of people pulling these dungeons, fine-tuning his pulls so that he can make it easier for people. I think there's a level of, like, you have to put in some effort to be a part of those groups. If you want to get a 10 in time, you have to know the pulls. You have to know the dungeons. You have to know your spec. You have to know the responsibilities in that dungeon. You have to be aware of skips. You have to be aware of routing. You have to know when the pridefuls are going to trigger. Like, these are all parts of, like, it's not fair to everyone else in that group, I guess, to show up and be like, just tell me where to go. No. Like, the people who are already working as hard as they can to get that far are not going to want to invite you back if you are a drain. And I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not calling anybody that, but I'm just saying, if you routinely don't carry your own water, a group of people is less likely to want to continue to hang out with you if every time it's like, oh, I don't have a flask today. Can I bum a potion off of somebody? And it's like, oh, we're doing an invis skip. Yeah, I don't have that. Cool. Well, DPS pot for this one because it's important. Oh, I don't have those. Like, at some point, someone's going to say, okay, well, we're going to shake things up and swap the groups around, and I guarantee you that the next time someone's looking for DPS for a 9, it's not going to be you. And I'm sorry if that's harsh or hurtful, but that's just the way the world works. You have to provide value, and I believe everyone in our guild is capable of learning the few simple mechanics that happen in most of these dungeons, farming up a couple of 100 gold to buy some flasks and some oils and some pots, so they can be the best version of themselves in these keys. And I think that goes a long way. And it has this, like, amazing side effect of, once you know all of the pulls, once you know when to hero, once you know what to skip, once you know who needs to be CC'd and interrupted, then you don't need Andrew or me or Cole, because now you are the master of your own destiny, and you can start the group and take other people through and teach them the way that Andrew has taught you. Like, I don't know, I just... be proactive, be an advocate for yourself, get that training, do a little bit of reading. It doesn't have to be external. A lot of it's in the dungeon journal. You know what I mean? We talk about it time and time again. It's just do 20 minutes of homework, take one quick stop by the auction house to buy some stuff, and people will notice the effort. It's much easier for me to want to bring somebody on a big key who I know is going to pre-pot, who I know is flasked, versus someone who whispers me, hey, can I get a flask? Like, that, to me, that says you're not taking my time seriously.
The big thing for me, and like how I approach the keys, is like if you die in a key, like most of the time it's apparent what killed you. Sometimes it's not. Um, yesterday we tried to do a 10 theater of pain, and we had like 47 deaths, 48 deaths, or something like that. We had 18 deaths on the first pull of theater of pain.
Nice.
That's
Been in
like
those rooms.
you're talking like the best players that we have in the guild wiped 18 times on a trash pull on the first pull of a dungeon.
Yep.
But the thing is like, oh, well, that's an opportunity to learn something. That like the healers couldn't keep me up as a tank on that pull because the
Wow.
trash was doing too much damage.
Yep.
So for me, it's okay, cool. Like this key changed from let's be super serious and try to push it to let's figure out what we can figure out. And I have things to go follow up with and like figure out, hey, this pull ate my lunch. What the hell? Like, what are we supposed to do about this? What I've been reading personally is like health pools are so low now that healers just don't have the time to drop that bomb heal to save your life. So kiting has got to be a thing, and that's going to be a new skill that I have to learn. Every DPS, every healer, everybody who wants to do keys needs to do that. So often, what we have happen is we run into a +5 or something like that, and somebody dies on a boss pull, and that's it. They just die and okay, res and move on. Like no, that wipes us. That kills a key in higher levels. That's like, and I know we've talked about it before. The most efficient thing to do is be timing keys. So figure out what you can time, hit that bar, and try to get better. And like, yeah, you want to push it up a little bit and learn stuff, but like figure that out. Dying and depleting a key sucks.
Yeah. And I just want to articulate my point a little bit better, I think. I'm not saying that that's how everybody should want to play the game. I'm just saying if you are in a position where you want to push higher keys, you want to be doing 10s, then you need to commit. It's a shit or get off the pot type of situation, and there's not a nicer way to say it. But
It's not a show up on Monday and
Right.
get carried through a 10.
Nobody's asking you to perform at that level. That's just if you think, that's a lot of fun, I want to do that, then it's like, being a race car driver or a professional baseball player or, you want to learn to play the guitar. You don't just pick it up and be like, I don't know why I'm not any good at this. This is bullshit. So.
All right, so I won't learn it through osmosis, and you don't have to take me through any 10s. I'm sorry I asked.
No,
we're still super trying to push up to 15 because we want to get the mounts.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is like we still have another 15 eye levels to go through.
Yes.
this tier. It'll take a little bit longer to get gear, but
there's so much time.
We're doing 10s. We timed a couple of 10s yesterday, and they were freaking hard. And we'll get there.
New question. Is there a key level that you should be trying to clear to help out with heroic raid?
So I'll tell you what my logic is. A +7 in the Great Vault will give you 213 high level gear, and that's the gear level that drops out of heroic. So my objective is to not push as many of the high keys as possible. You want to do 1 because you want to get that chance, but for my 10 key chest, I want a 7 or better, because then I know for certainty that I can pick a piece of gear that I can put on my character that will allow me to trade gear from the raid.
Yeah.
So if you can get a +7 done, like even just 1, then you're guaranteed a piece of heroic level gear. And in the gear age that we're in now, just with Shadowlands, I personally value being able to trade gear more.
Yeah.
What you really, really don't want to have happen, like the worst thing to have happen, is you only do a 6, you get a 210 piece of gear, and then the first thing that drops for you out of the raid is a 213 for the same slot. Like, that just sucks. But that being said, like, that is a hyper optimization that I do because I can.
But yeah, if they're looking for advice.
Any other questions?
And 7s are super approachable. Like, there's anybody in the guild, any group, we could put any group together in the guild and complete a 7. No problem.
So is that what we should be targeting then on Mondays instead of quantity of dungeons, just targeting getting as many 7s as possible?
If you haven't done one.
Yeah, I think that's like the $1 million
But you
question,
only need
right?
one, right, for the week.
I think you want, like we've talked about it before, the variety of having an option is probably better. Like, I would rather have the option of 2 pieces at 207 than 1 piece at 210. Because if it's the slot that is in my legendary, or if it's a slot that I already have a 220 from week 1, I'm boned. Like, I don't have anything. So I think if it's one of those, if you have done 0 keys, then sure, getting a 7 done should be on your top list of to-dos. However, if you've done 1 7, 2 6s, and a 4, maybe you want to get 1 more 6 done, just put you in that higher bracket.
Yeah, it really depends on what your gear is. If you don't have very much normal Nyalotha gear, then a +2 will give you a 200 eye level piece of gear. So do 10 +2s. Yeah. You're guaranteed a normal Nyalotha gear in like 5. Assuming we clear the raid, you'll have 6 normal Nyalotha gear options if you just do 10 +2s.
Nathria.
Boom, done. Right.
Yeah.
Or Nathria, yeah. I said Nyalotha, didn't I? So, for me, like, I have 200s in almost every slot. So for me, the goal is different. I want the most options that are going to, like, I have a different goal, right? It's being able to trade the heroic level loot. But the logic is still the same. I would recommend, if you're not like super grinding dungeons, just do as many lower keys as you can. The options are better. What you don't want to have happen is to do your 1/7 and then have it land on your legendary slot. Have 203 options or 206 options or something like that, because then you're going to be able to upgrade that that next slot that I still have at 171 and haven't been able to get an upgrade to save my soul. So I would rather take an eye level 200 neck piece, which is a 29 eye level upgrade, than take a 210 up to a 213. Like, right? So.
And what are we getting from the raiding perspective? Because we're clearing at least 7 bosses. We're hoping for a full clear of normal. So what will that get the raiders at a minimum in their vault every week?
3 options at item level 200, if a full clear.
Yeah, so there is something that I don't know how it works, which is because the last 2 bosses drop 207 eye level. I don't know where those land. I think the way I believe that it works is that you have a item level 200 Nathria loot, and that slot can drop a 207 item off of the last 2 bosses. So once we get to Denathrius down and get 10 bosses, we'll get the chance of it a 207 piece of gear. And then the other thing too is, like, if we can get Denathrius down and kill that first heroic boss, then we'll have a 213 options. Or no, you need 3, right?
3,
you need 3 bosses. So yeah, so that, forget that. Next week.
Next week for sure.
But we're hopefully unlocking the 207 option for that to proc.
Yeah. So this wasn't a question that we had discussed earlier, but I think it would be a good topic to talk about since we're talking about the vault. Interest in PvP has come up quite a bit in the guild from individual members. Do you have any plans on adding a PvP scheduled raid activity or guild activity?
My answer from my personal, no. But that should not disqualify or dissuade anyone else who wants to do it. Like, people are always saying, I wish there was a way I could be, a larger part of the guild, or I wish I could organize something, or if you want to own, like, you can be the PvP master, then do that. Like, literally just own that, schedule an activity, get people to sign up on Discord. That isn't hard to organize, and there are apparently quite a few people who would like to be killing hordes. It's not my cup of tea. It's not something I enjoy, so I don't think I'll take ownership over it. But if somebody wants to, I think it would be cool to have that option for the guild.
Yeah, one of the big drivers with PvP right now is that it's super easy to get a weapon, and oh, that was lovely.
Every time I sprint, it goes over the knuckle of that chain, and you just forward momentum carries you to your death.
Yeah, I will be doing arena at some point because I really want the mount, the armored spider mount.
That is pretty cool.
But I like PvP is just another aspect of the game that gives rewards that are similar to raiding or Mythic Plus or anything like that. And I've got so much stuff going on. Like I don't have enough time to do all the things that I want to do in the game already. I'm perfectly fine just carving that out of my playtime and focusing on other stuff that I enjoy more. Obviously, that's not going to be it for everybody. Some people are going to enjoy PvP more than M+, and like, awesome, set up a group, like John said.
Yep.
You own your own destiny.
I
And
do.
if you do, let us know. We'll add it to the guild calendar. Like, it will become a thing if you can do it. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Just, it can't be on a raid night.
Please
and
and
it
thank
probably
you.
shouldn't be on Mondays.
But yeah, that's it. If it's a thing you want to do, the guild will benefit from it, and we're all about whatever, a rising tide should lift all boats. So, no one really asked Cole or Reskin if they wanted to take over getting everybody their 15 keys in time at the end of BFA. They kind of just said, this is a thing we like doing, this is a thing we're good at, would you guys like to do it with us? So if that wants to happen organically with PvP, I think that would be awesome. And eventually I'll come around and try it again. It's just, I'm not going to organize it because I loathe PvP.
I really dislike it too.
We're PvE family.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're at our hour mark, so thank you everyone so much for joining us. We do have plans for in 2 weeks. The next officer chat will be all about Mythic Plus, the new affixes and routing and all of that kind of good stuff. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, just bring your A game tonight. We've got 2 easy fights before us, and then unfortunately there's no way around it. You guys are going to have to listen to me talk for a while, and then we're going to do Sardonathrius a bunch.
A whole bunch.
Mhm.
That fight looks fun though.
Yeah, I'm excited. Do I get to tank the sword?
Well, we gotta swap. So
But I want to tank Romornia first.
okay.
I got excited about tanking an animated sword. All right.
If that's what makes you happy.
It really is.
Because play what you love.
I want to. Be
I have
an
to say,
animated
like, watching the Race to World First, Denathrius was one of the most entertaining fights to just watch progress on. I know, like, most of the mechanics we won't have to deal with, we're not going to have to do hardly any of the crap that they did in the Mythic run, but man, that was an entertaining fight to watch.
Just the mirrors, just the aspect of the mirrors alone, I think is worth the price of admission.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think we have to deal with those on normal, do we?
Oh, we don't even. Oh, yeah, we'll still have to get out of his phase 1 expunge or whatever it's called. He seals it for phase 3, but the mirrors should still be there to get out of his blow up the world. It's smaller than it is on heroic or mythic, so you can just run away. But if we wanted to use the mirrors, we could.
We can use the mirrors. We got to use them on heroic anyway. So.
Yep.
It's good practice.
The thing with the mirrors is we have to convince everybody to stack up.
Yeah.
That's like challenge number 1. Our most difficult mechanic in raid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hug your friends.
Yeah, I don't. Social distancing.
You have a debuff that will spread to everybody else in the party. We're all over it.
Yeah.
If it's not a debuff that's going to kill your friends, then we're not interested.
But
if we want people to spread out, they're all on top of each other. If we want them to stack together, there must be a bad reason for that.
Have you noticed that has gotten better, though? We talked a little bit before about how much the raid has improved or grown. Like, that's a thing. Like, we have gotten much better at organization. Still not perfect, and still not like German engineering, but much better.
Yeah, it's true. Sun King is a great example of that.
Yeah. Exactly. Those kinds of audibles where it's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to change everything up. Used to take 10 pulls for us to sort of readjust to the new paradigm shift. Everybody's come a really long way. Just to be able to say, yeah, new plan, here it is. And to have everybody react to that is awesome.
Great, well, we will see y'all in, an hour and 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Something like that.
If I told people earlier that I was going to run keys with you before raid, that may not happen since it's now 3 o'clock and I have to have lunch. But I will stay up late if you guys want to run keys after. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for tuning into Officer Chat, and we'll see you guys around. Bye-bye.